This is case number 174 on the calendar in the matter of Lopez versus Gonzalez. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Ladies, have seats, please.
Mr. Lopez, you and the defendant have a child together. Is that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
It is your complaint that the defendant had you arrested on false charges of assault, domestic violence, and you want to be compensated for that. And in addition, you want a home entertainment center that you say was yours, that is in the defendant's home. The defendant says that the home entertainment center was a gift. You did, in fact, assault her, and she is counterclaiming for her injuries.
I don't have nothing. He took everything.
Defendant says the home entertainment center was a gift. Do you still have it?
No, he took everything.
She doesn't have it. And that you did, in fact, assault her. And her counterclaim is for the injuries that she suffered during the course of this assault, which occurred around Christmas time. Is that right?
Christmas Day.
Okay. All right, Mr. Lopez. Were you living with the defendant at the time that you were arrested?
I was moving out. I was in the moving out.
He was already a week out.
I'm going to get to you in a minute, but don't interrupt him. What do you mean you were in the process of moving out? What does that mean?
The day after Thanksgiving, we had a really big argument and we had broken up. So we made an agreement by no later than the first week of January that I had to have everything of mine moved out and be completely moved out. I was staying between there, like a few days if I babysitted my son, or I stood at my best friend's house or my mother's house.
So most of the time you weren't living there?
Yes.
All right. So tell me about Christmas Day. You came over to the house?
What happened was we agreed to meet up at my best friend's house. We picked up my son and her son, her other child, and we agreed to go back to her house, to her apartment, and open up the children's gifts together. And from there, when we arrived at the home, we opened the gifts. She asked me to stay a little bit longer while she took a shower so I could watch the children. I agreed. At that time, I received a phone call from my fiance on my fiance's cell phone, just before she went to the bathroom to take a shower. At that time, I was speaking to her. I explained to her what time I was going to be finished. I explained to her that she was going to take a shower and I was going to meet up with her right after. At that time, she began screaming, saying stuff that didn't need to be said over the phone for my fiance to hear. So at that time, I said, why are you acting up? You know what? I'm not going to stay. I'm leaving. She began an argument. I tried to leave. I had my son in my arms with the cell phone. She wouldn't let me leave. So I said, you know what? I'm leaving. I'm leaving my son. I put my son down in the crib. At that time, I dropped the cell phone in the crib without knowledge when I put my son down. I tried to leave. She blocked the doorway. I kept on explaining to her, move, move. I want to leave. I'm not staying. I'm out. She didn't want to let me. So then I barged through. She had her arms spread out against the doorway, holding me, not letting me go. So when I barged through so I could leave, she scratched her arm. So I left. When I got outside, I went to go call my fiance.
That is not your
And when I got downstairs,
Ms. Gonzalez, I don't want to hear it's not true again. Do you understand?
No problem.
No, that's not an answer. The answer is yes, Your Honor, I understand. I will not interrupt again.
Yes, Your Honor, I understand. I will not interrupt again.
That's right. Go ahead.
So outside, I went to make an attempt to call my fiance, and I noticed I didn't have the phone. So when I went back upstairs,
That was stupid.
because the phone was upstairs,
That was stupid.
I went and I looked for the phone.
Say yes, that was stupid.
Yes, it was stupid. So I asked her if she had
You
the cell
just
phone.
gotten out of the house. You pushed her. She scratched her arm, according to you. You leave the cell phone and you go. You don't go back into a confrontational area, sir. That's stupid, Mr. Lopez.
Yes, Your
All
Honor.
right, so you go back upstairs. What happened when you went back upstairs?
When I got upstairs, I asked her, did she have the cell phone? She says, I don't have it. So as I looked through the house, I remembered I had it in my hand when I put my son down. When I looked into the crib, my son wasn't in the crib. I went and found my cell phone under the sheet. Again, I attempted to leave. Again, she blocked my way. I said, just move, then move. At that time, she told me she had called the cops and I was going to be arrested. I said, well, I'm leaving. And outside the door, a lady, which I had never seen before in this building for the whole year I was living there, had my son. As I attempted to take my son from the lady, 2 female officers were coming upstairs.
What were you taking your son from the lady for?
I didn't know the lady. If I don't know the person, I don't want nobody I don't know having my son in my hands. I don't know what they'll do. So the 2 officers were downstairs. They came, and they brought us all into the apartment, me, her, and the 2 kids. While we were in the apartment, the officers explained because this domestic problem, they were going to arrest both of us. At that time, they would take both children and put them in child custody. I said, I'm not pressing no charges. I don't want nothing. I just want to go home. My son can stay. I have no problems. At that time, the female officer told me to stand by the door, don't move. So at that time, there was a knock at the door. 2 more officers came. 2 male officers now. We go back inside. She's in there screaming. Next thing you know, all I hear is her mother screaming at me, Jason, I wouldn't do this to you. And she said, why are you doing this? I said, what's going on? The officer said, turn around, and they handcuffed me. Later, when I was taken down to central booking for arrest, I was informed of the charges. It was assault, assault with weapon, child endangerment. They said I put a knife to my son's back. At no time did I ever touch a knife to grapple against my son. Because of that, I had charges of an ACS for attempted on my child, and
All right, you were held in jail for 2 days, is that right?
for, yeah, almost 2 days.
2 days.
I called my fiance.
All right, the charges were subsequently dismissed when you decided to drop all charges against each other, is that right?
Yeah.
Do you see your son now so regularly?
No,
Why not?
I still can't because she won't let me see my son.
Uh-huh.
It's a struggle for me to see my son.
All right.
And every time we went to family court for me to get a chance to see my son, she made false charges, knowing I was going to get visitation of my son, then I'm arrested.
Okay. I'd like to see first the medical bills that you have as a result of this incident on Christmas Day.
I didn't get to get the medical bills because this happened so quick that I didn't get a chance to get them. So I have my pictures.
Let me see all the papers you have. All the papers.
Your Honor, Judy.
Shh, just a minute.
I have a scar on my left hand.
Just a minute.
And the lady that
Just a
called,
second. These scratches are what you're talking about?
Yeah, I had a scratch.
All right.
I had a hairline fracture in my left hand.
Don't tell me you had a hairline fracture without any medical bills, without reports. Don't tell me about a hairline fracture.
Excuse me, Judge.
I'll get to you in a minute.
Thank you.
I have a few questions for Ms. Gonzalez. The police officer who took this report took your statement, is that right?
Yes, and on the statement,
I'm speaking. The police officer who took the report took your statement, and he read the statement to you, is that right?
yes, he did.
And after he read the statement, he asked you if it was accurate, is that right?
Yes, he did.
And you said it was accurate, is that right?
That's right.
And you signed it.
Yes.
And you wouldn't have left out anything vitally important, is that right?
No.
So I'm going to read what you wrote in the statement.
I didn't write that. The officer.
What the I don't care whether you wrote it or the officer wrote it. I just asked you whether he read it to you and whether you signed it. You said yes.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Jason Lopez says ex-girlfriend Suhey Gonzalez had him falsely arrested for domestic abuse. Suhey claims Jason slammed her hand in a door and held a knife to their son's throat.
All right, Ms. Gonzalez, I'm going to read what you wrote in this police report. It says, at the time and place listed above, the perpetrator, that's him, who was the victim's common-law husband, did grab the victim by her throat, choked her, at which time he forced her left hand between the door and the wall and repeatedly slammed the door on the victim's hand, causing substantial pain and swelling to the victim's left hand. That's what this says, okay? Now I'm going to tell you what you wrote in your answer. When I told him to leave, he grabbed our son and tried to take him. When I tried to stop him, he pulled a knife out and held it to my son's neck. He said, if you don't let me take him, I'll kill both of us.
No, they didn't write it in the police.
They wrote nothing about a knife threatening to kill himself,
Exactly.
threatening to kill this
Yes.
child. You know why they didn't write that down? Because you didn't tell them that.
Is that you?
No. Because you didn't tell them that.
All right,
at the
I
time.
didn't tell them exactly at the time.
Right, at the
Because they had
time-
me in a separate room.
Hey.
They had him outside.
Just a second. At the time, you didn't tell them that he took out a knife, he held it to the baby's throat, he threatened to kill the baby. You told them that he hurt your hand and your hand was in pain, not that he threatened to kill your child. You made that up later.
No, I did not.
Oh, yes, you did.
Oh, no, I did
Oh,
not.
yes, you
They
did.
knew that he was the one. Can I say something
yeah,
now?
yeah.
All right.
Yeah,
In that
you did.
police report, the lady signed, she's the one who signed right next to the statement, not me. Because I didn't call the cops because he broke my phone, and that's why. I didn't call the cops. The lady from my building called the cops. She's the one who had both of my kids because my oldest was crying. She's the one who called the cops.
Okay.
I didn't get a chance to call the cops.
Here we go.
Because he wanted to take my son, just like he took my son 3 weeks ago.
Let me explain
and
to you
kidnapped
what
my son.
got you angry, Miss Gonzalez. I've been in this business a long time. He's at your house. According to your answer, he told you a couple of weeks before or a month before, he didn't
December
want to have, I'm
17th.
speaking, that he didn't want to have anything to do with you anymore. He had a new girlfriend. Clearly, he has a new girlfriend. All right?
Excuse me.
I'm speaking. I'm speaking. He comes over to your house, right? According to your answer, you open up the Christmas presents together. It's all a nice family situation. You ask him to watch the kids while you go take a shower. This is what you write here. When you come out of the shower, you hear him on the phone with his girlfriend. I'm not saying that that's what happens to her. I'm saying that that's what she wrote in her answer. That makes one very angry.
Of course.
Of course. Of course that makes you very angry because there you're here with him, with a new baby. He's taking care of the baby's presents. He's in your house Christmas time, and he's going to say goodbye to you, and he's going to go to girlfriend number...
And it was just a week that we had broken up.
Fine. So you're really angry. The knife was a nice touch. He wasn't arrested with a knife. He wasn't arrested with a knife.
All right.
You know what I'm talking about.
And
you know what I'm
happened.
talking about.
And I know what happened.
Yeah.
And I know exactly what happened. Because he tried to take my son. He tried to take my son.
Just a second. What do you mean?
That's how... Who called my
Hey,
mother?
Miss
Who called my
Gonzalez.
mother? The lady?
Miss Gonzalez.
That called the cops?
Miss Gonzalez. Is he the father?
Yes, he's the father. And I'm not saying that
I'm
he's not.
speaking. Is he the father?
Yes.
Then you have no greater right to this child than he does.
But
Duh.
he kidnapped my son for
Duh.
3 weeks.
You can't kidnap your own child unless there's an order
This
of
is
custody.
recently. We've been going through this. I just want to go on with my
What
life.
I'm
I want
telling
him to
you-
go on with his life. If he wants to
Listen.
see his son, he's more than welcome to see his son.
Miss
I have nothing
Gonzalez,
wrong with that.
these-
But
I'm
you cannot see
speaking.
his son
I'm
because
going
he
to
had
say
order
1, 2, 3.
protection.
Then they're going to put you out. When you claim that you were severely assaulted, and the best picture that you can come up with is a picture showing me 2 scratches on your arm, 2 scratches. That's what they are. No hairline fracture, no hospital records, no... Well, all right. This was an argument. And unfortunately, because the police take domestic violence seriously, as they should, they got to arrest somebody.
And I lost my securities license.
Mr. Lopez, you do not get an A+ for smarts. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
You don't get an A+ for going back for a $39.99 cell phone after you have already had an altercation with her, and you were out of the problem. You were outside.
Because he never
You
went
go-
outside.
Excuse me?
Because he never went outside. That's
Because you wouldn't let him go outside, Miss
No,
Gonzalez,
because he was
you
trying
were
to kidnap
so
my
angry.
son. He was trying to take my son. And he's devious like that, that he would take my son and leave. Just like he did 3 weeks ago. And that's why he was going to get rearrested. I had to get the cops to come get my son from his house.
You keep saying my son.
Because he's my son. Because he don't pay no child support. He doesn't do nothing.
What do you do for a
he
living?
He hasn't done
Shh.
nothing.
What do you do for a living?
I was working.
What do you do for a living now?
Nothing.
Who supports the child?
I do.
No, not if you're not working. You get welfare?
Yes, I do.
If you get welfare, then I support your son. You think I should take him?
Yeah, but I was
Just a
working.
second, just a second. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? He doesn't support his child, and you don't support your child. I support your child. So that mean that I should get custody? Don't be ridiculous. Pardon, Ms. Gonzalez. You keep saying, it's my child. He's taking my child. He's entitled to see his child. It doesn't sound to me like he's too bright.
just stopped working,
because he went
so-
from this child, you're going to have another child? You keep rubbing your belly, right?
Yes.
You got enough trouble with one. You're going to make another one? How
Yep.
many more do you have?
There's the only one. The only one coming.
In any event, I read the police report. I read the police report that doesn't talk about a knife to the throat, threatened to kill the child, threatened to kill anybody, and I see 2 scratches on your arm. You also, sir, yeah, you want to play that for me?
Yes, I even have an
Go
audio tape
ahead,
of
let
her
me hear
saying-
it.
But I still can't get over the fact why you had me arrested.
Because I was just upset. Things were going through my mind. I'm admitting I'm sorry.
Oh, so you're admitting that you did get me arrested?
This is why he
because
was-
of this chick, because I was with another chick?
No, it wasn't only because of that. It was because of a lot of things, Jason.
Oh, okay. But then why did you tell him I punched you in your face, I choked the out of you?
No, I didn't say that.
Gigi, the DA said that in the court.
Mr. Lopez, I didn't even have to listen to that. I mean, I've heard this, I've been around this business now for 27 years, right?
Yes.
And I know, when I read your papers, I see her affect, right?
Yeah.
And I know exactly what happened. That doesn't mean that you were smart, A, as I said, to go back to the cell phone, B, to get a telephone call from your girlfriend. Tell your girlfriend, don't call me until I call you. I don't want to create any more problems with her. I'm going to open presents with the children. Don't call me. That creates a problem.
We had already opened the gifts. This was around the time I was getting ready to leave.
She shouldn't have called you, and you shouldn't have spoken to her. Say, this is a tacky problem. I don't want there to be any problem with her. Don't call me. I'll be there. I'll be home when I'm home. And the reason she called is because it's a little territorial. She's not so happy either. You're going over to visit mother number one. She's going to be mother number two. You know, you got to be
She
smart.
wasn't pregnant at the time.
2 months later. Wow,
Now
big
she
difference.
is. Now she is. Right? And on your security job, you can hardly afford to pay for yourself.
I don't have work.
Listen to me, sir. When you had a security job, you could hardly afford to pay for one child. Now you're going to have two. Did you pay for a lawyer? No. They gave you a free lawyer.
Yes.
You spent a couple of days in jail.
Yes.
You shouldn't have.
And so did I, because he falsely arrested me.
For what?
He said that I made phone harassment. On June 30th, he called me. I have the phone records for that. He called me with my own phone card that he rung up. He falsely arrested me on June 31st. I got arrested. I made the report on June 30th. As soon as the time right after he called me and called them and let them know that he was calling me and harassing me. And he called me with my own phone card. And right after that, he calls his girlfriend and his mother.
No. No.
Ms. Gonzalez, your counterclaim is for the assault that you claim he perpetrated on you
And
on
false
Christmas
arrest.
Day.
It says it on the paper.
And according to your complaint, you are filing for injuries and damages due to the alleged assault. Okay? You do say somewhere in your answer that he filed false charges, but the damages you are requesting are for the assault. And I don't find that he assaulted you, so your counterclaim is dismissed. The only thing that I have to consider now is whether there was an argument and whether, as a result of false statements that you made and continue to make and continue to embellish to the police.
Not me,
Betty,
because
I'm
I wanna go on with my
speaking.
life. He's the one
I'm
who brings me here.
speaking.
For what?
He brought you here
For
because
what? He keeps calling me and harassing me.
listen to me. He's known you a long time. I've met you now for about 15 minutes, and I don't think he's crazy. And I wouldn't precipitate phone calls and contact with you because I think that you're an angry lady. I think that you feel as if he jilted you, that he left you high and dry with your baby, and now he's got somebody else. All of those things, doesn't pay child support, you're not working, but that doesn't give you the right to have him arrested and make false allegations, which I believe that you did, and I'm awarding him $1,000 on his claim. That's all. By the way, she doesn't have your entertainment center.
Yes, she
That's
does.
all.
Your Honor, when we went there, the officers
Goodbye.
explained.
All right, here's our excuse. You may step out. Yes.
And now the next case.
All parties on Williams versus Hume. Step forward, please.
19-year-old student Jennifer Williams is suing her ex-boyfriend, 19-year-old student Michael Hume, for attorney's fees, money loaned, and for kicking down her door.
Miss Williams, the defendant is a former boyfriend of yours. I gather you were arrested on some sort of a warrant from when you were a juvenile. Is that right?
Probation violation.
And at that time, according to you, Miss Williams, he's in jail, and you loaned him some money to buy some socks and other toothpaste, I guess, combs,
ma'am.
shaving stuff. That wasn't a lot of money. How much was it?
$200.
Did he ask you for that money?
He asked for the money to be put in his account. I said I would do it as long as he paid me back.
Did you say that to him?
Yes, I did.
You remember that?
Not at all. I don't.
Do me a favor, don't laugh.
Sorry.
Did she put any money into your account?
Yes, she did.
How much?
She did 200.
How did she know you needed money in your account?
Well, I made phone calls.
And what did you say?
I said that we have commissary and I would like some money, and she sent me money. Some of that money, I was under the understanding that some of that money came out of one of my paychecks when I was working security before I was incarcerated.
Did you have any paychecks of his that he got after?
No, ma'am. None of the money that was put into his commissary account came out of his paycheck. That all came out of my paychecks.
Where was his paycheck?
You have any-
At Sandy's house, who was his employer at the time. It was at her house.
So you never got his
No,
paycheck?
ma'am.
Okay. Now let's talk about the lawyer, because that's a much bigger bill. You say that you paid for his lawyer.
Yes, ma'am.
And how much was that?
Well, I had thought it was $1,100. I have the receipts. It says it was $1,200.
But you sued for 11.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
That's it.
Okay. Tell me how come you paid for his lawyer?
I went to go see him in jail. It was originally understood he was going to get a court-appointed lawyer. Then he had called me and said he didn't want a court-appointed lawyer, that he had wanted a real lawyer. And then the next day when I had gone to see him in jail, I told him I would pay for the lawyer as long as he paid me back when he got out of jail.
A lot of that is false.
Just tell me the story, sir.
Okay.
And try standing up straight and looking at me.
Sorry.
Good.
Now,
looking at me.
basically,
I'm not there. I'm here.
okay, sorry. I told both her and her mother that I was fine with a court-appointed lawyer. I didn't agree to pay them back at all. I also, it was never in writing or anything. I'd never said that. It was just never said. I was just under the understanding that she was paying for my lawyer to be nice because she loved me, blah, 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 you know.
There's a lot there to love.
Thanks.
Well, if you didn't want her to pay for your lawyer and if you were just as happy with the public defender, why didn't you just say to the lawyer when the lawyer came to see you in jail, I have a lawyer, thank you very much, I don't need a lawyer?
Well, I didn't have a court-appointed lawyer yet.
So you had no lawyer and you're sitting in jail?
Not yet. I hadn't.
Just pay attention.
Okay.
You had no lawyer and you're sitting in jail. How old are you?
19.
Had you been in jail before?
Yes.
For how long?
Around 2 months.
Did you know her then?
No, no, I did not.
When you met him, had you known that he had spent some time in jail?
The first time I met him was when we were both working at Friendly's. I didn't find out he was in jail then until the 3rd week we knew each other. We weren't dating yet.
But then you found out that he had been incarcerated. Did you know what for?
Over the months we had dated, he had explained things. All I knew is that he had a probation violation, possession of marijuana, possession of a controlled substance, eluding the police. The list goes on and on.
You're still on probation?
No.
So you're not drug screened anymore, is that
No.
right?
Correct.
How did I know that?
You're really intelligent.
You're really right. What else?
Well, as far as him for telling you that he had never said he would pay me back, my witness was there at the time. She is my mother. She was in the room with us when he said it.
Let me hear you. Miss Williams?
Yes.
Let me hear what you heard. Where were you first?
We were in the lawyer's office. His father had mentioned, I'm not going to pay for your lawyer. And Michael had said, I will pay you back.
So you were all sitting together?
Yes. And the first time we had talked about the lawyer, I had gone with my daughter to see him in jail. And he said, don't worry, Ma, I'll pay you back when I get out of jail and I get a job.
Is that what he called you?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. What else?
He put a hole in my door, my bedroom door, when we were fighting one night.
Forget it. Let me tell you something. Was this after he got out of jail?
Yes, ma'am, it was.
After he got out of jail, I wouldn't have let him back in my bedroom at all.
And I was very stupid to do so.
It's fine. Then you pay for the door out of your own stupidity.
All right.
Where are you working now? What is that around your neck?
This? Necklaces.
One or more?
2.
What are they made out of?
Just aluminum and metal.
Where are you working now?
Right now, I'm actually not working. I'm applying, though, at various jobs.
Who are you living with?
I'm living with my friend.
This friend?
No, not this friend.
What kind of friend?
He restores cars.
What else does he do? Does he sell? Is he a business person?
No, not at all.
Does he sell anything
No.
other than restoring cars?
No,
No.
People want him to sell his car, but he won't do it.
I wasn't talking about cars necessarily. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,300, that's all.
Parties are excused. You may-
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Morrison versus McKinney. Step forward, please.
31-year-old office manager Carla Morrison is suing her former friend, 27-year-old retail salesperson Corey McKinney, for an unpaid cell phone bill. Corey has a countersuit claiming Carla vandalized his car.
Miss Morrison, according to your complaint, you and the defendant were friends, and there came a time when each of you wanted a cell phone. I know what happened with an uncle of yours. He agreed to get the cell phones for you, but the defendant's agreement with you was that he would pay his portion of the cell phone bill.
That is correct.
You claimed that he ran up a substantial bill on the cell phone, which he has not paid.
That is correct.
Now, the defendant, I read your answer, sir. You don't seem to dispute the fact that you ran up a substantial phone bill.
Right.
Is that right?
Yes.
And how much was the phone bill that he ran up?
His cost came up to $1,000.
Can I see that, please? Or total?
We initially got our phones in January. I believe I had Corey's phone disconnected towards the end of April, the beginning of May.
4 months.
Right, but his calls ran into like June and July.
Okay, so the bills are really in his name. This says total Nextel charges for Corey, right? On the bill it says for
I
Corey.
never seen the bill.
Well, we'll show it to you. Actually, it's $1,007.37.
Correct.
Because you had a phone that allowed you to make as many local calls as you wanted, but not long-distance calls?
Right. Corey's charges are more long distance than anything.
Corey, who do you talk to so much, sir?
I talk to people everywhere.
Where are most of your friends?
I was out of town then. I was out of town then.
You were out of town?
Yeah. And I was calling back.
Your defense to this action is that you did spend the money on jabbering away long distance, but that the plaintiff did damage to your car.
Yeah.
And the damage to your car is more than your long distance calls, right?
Yes.
That's your defense.
Yes.
So, show me. What kind of damage did she do to your car?
Cut my tires and put sugar in my tank.
Did you witness her doing that?
No,
Never look at me.
My witness, I have a witness here.
So the answer is you did not witness her doing that. But you have a witness who I'm prepared to hear. Step up, sir. Tell me your name.
Anthony McKinney.
Are you related?
Yeah, I'm his brother.
Now tell me what you observed on May 7th.
I was coming home from out playing basketball, and I seen her truck over there at the house when I was walking in the house. I really didn't see her really do it, but next morning I got up and he was outside going crazy. I was like, went over to see what was wrong. He said somebody had put sugar in my tank and cut the tires. I said, well, last night when I was coming home, I seen her over there and had left the house. But I really didn't pay any attention to it because they were seeing each other off and on at the time, considering the phone bills and everything.
Sir, did you see her on May 7th?
I seen her the day before.
On May 6th?
May 7th.
Where did you see her?
He came over to the house.
To visit with you?
Yes. He said he seen her that night.
Shh. Sit down. Sit down, sir. Well, tell me about the conversation that you had with her on May 7th.
She talking about the phone bill.
And what did you say to her about the phone
I told her I
bill?
wasn't going to pay the bill.
Did you tell her why?
But she had the phone turned off. I didn't even use it.
Well, she
I
had
never
the
did
phone-
see the bill. She never showed me the bill.
Now I'll hear you. You went over to his house on May the 7th?
I don't recall. I have talked to Corey numerous times on the phone, over our two-way radio pertaining to the bill. Corey has seen our Nextel bills. He left to go out of town. His thing was, I'll take care of it when I come back from Texas. Don't worry about it. Don't trip, Carla. You know, I'm not going to leave you out there like that. I'm going to pay the bill. I don't recall being at Corey's house on May 7th. It's a possibility, because I was at Corey's house plenty of times.
Did you slash his tires?
Of course not.
Did you put sugar in his gas tank?
Of course not. And me and Corey talked about this. He brought the damages up that I did to his car, and when I called him and asked him when was he going to pay his bill, and he said, I'm not. You had my phone shut off. I said, well, yeah, Corey, because the bill is at $1,300. He even called me when he was in Texas to say that I slashed his girlfriend's tires on her car as well. It's like, you know, Corey, I don't have time for this. I'm working 2 jobs. I don't have time to drive around town to look and vandalize Corey's vehicle.
Now, these phones, the bills were actually in your uncle's name?
The bill is in my uncle's name, but we are the sole responsible party.
I understand that, but the bills are in your uncle's name. If they were to sue somebody, they were going to sue your uncle.
Right.
Right? And your uncle knew that he was behind in the bills.
Right. He knew that he wasn't paying them.
But he wasn't paying them.
So where's our
There
uncle?
were other people, sir, who had a motive to do nasties to your car, right?
Yes, correct.
Those are only people that I know. Anybody else not like you, sir?
No.
You sure about that? Okay. You have
Where's our uncle at?
You have it, what?
Where's our uncle at? Shouldn't he be here?
No, why?
He signed for the phones.
So what? She's responsible because she promised her uncle that, despite the fact that the uncle signed for the phones, the two of you were going to be responsible. Duh. You still have the same girlfriend that you had in May?
No.
When did you break up with the May girlfriend?
In June.
In June? Well, June's pretty close to May. Had you been fighting with your girlfriend?
No.
You mean it just came on all of a sudden that you broke up with her?
Yeah. But this
There
happened
may
in-
be somebody else that didn't like you.
It happened in May.
And when were her tires?
We was on good terms then.
You were on really good terms.
Good terms.
Oh, good terms. Well, Mr. McKinney, we may never find out who put sugar in your tank, sir. But we sure know who made all these phone calls. That was you. Judgment for the plaintiff and the amount requested, $1,007.37. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
And now the next case.
All parties on Moeller versus Stevens. Step forward, please.
Commercial pilot Doug Moeller is suing his neighbors, Roger and Jackie Stevens, and their son, 17-year-old Brian. Doug says Brian purposefully damaged his daughter's bicycle. The Stevens are countersuing for the cost of a bike and damage to their screen door.
Mr. Motor, it is your claim that the defendant's son damaged your daughter's bike.
That's correct.
The defendant says that he caused no damage to the bike, and they are counterclaiming because they say that their daughter's bike was stolen from your backyard and it's your fault. B, that your son tore a hole in their screen door. You weren't there during this bike incident?
No, ma'am, I wasn't.
I'd like you to sit down.
Okay.
And your children up here. Now, you weren't present either, is that right?
Correct.
So you can sit down, leaving the alleged perpetrator standing. When did this happen?
Around midsummer last year.
Tell me about the day.
We went over to see my cousin that we always play with.
You have to speak up because I can't hear you. Tell me your first name.
Timothy Moeller.
All right, Timothy, keep your voice up. You hear the way I'm talking?
Yeah.
Try to do it.
Okay.
Good. Okay, go ahead.
Brian started jumping up and down on the bike.
That's Brian.
Yeah.
What were you doing on the bike?
I was sitting on it. I've never seen a bike like that before, so I was testing out the shocks.
Testing out the shocks.
Right.
And how, Brian, were you testing out the shocks?
I bounced up and down on the seat a couple times and lifted the front tire off the ground about 2 inches and then let it go.
It was a girl's bike, wasn't it?
No, it wasn't.
It was a boy's bike.
Yeah.
Big or little?
It was big. It was a 20-inch.
Your Honor, could I give you a photograph of the bicycle as
Yes,
evidence?
I'd like to see it.
This is a photograph of the bicycle with a bicycle license, and it shows that these are actually children's bicycles. Quite a bit smaller than an adult would be riding.
Mm-hmm. Small?
I didn't think it was.
Small?
Okay.
Okay. Who told you you could get on the bike?
Nobody.
Can I see the wheel, please? How old are you?
17. I
So,
was 16
get a job
at
and
the time.
pay for the wheel. Wheel's all bent. Wheel's all bent. Would you step up, sir? Okay. We'll make very quick work of this part of the case. Your son got on a bike without permission, tested out the springs, didn't ride it the way it was supposed to be ridden, and they say as a result of that the wheel was broken. So?
Well, according to my witness, my daughter and my son, when he got off, it was still on the kickstand. She got back on it. She rode home on it. We felt that if he had done it, she would have went home. If she'd have done it right then, she'd have went home and told her father, hey, Brian just damaged my bike. But the story that we got is that the next day or so, he noticed the damage, came to the children and said, what happened to your bike? We're not sure. We think maybe when Brian was on it, you know, and so we just don't feel that he did it. It may have happened later. And,
Well, what you feel is irrelevant.
Okay.
Relevant facts are he got on a bike without permission. He was testing the shocks.
Okay.
He's a big boy. He jumped up and down. I mean, at least he's telling the truth. Now, when you went to ride the bike home, did you see anything different in riding the bike?
The bicycle wheel was rubbing up against the side of the bike.
And did you feel that before he had gotten on the bike to test it?
No, ma'am, I didn't.
Okay, so now I need the bill. I mean, it's not malicious, it's not terrible, but you pay the bill. $106, is that what it cost?
Mm-hmm.
Good. Now, let's get, what?
Your Honor, could I speak for just a second, please?
Sure.
What we've heard here is in a large part a fabrication. In fact, I'd like to call Michelle Stevens as a witness, if I could, please, Brian.
Second, sir, you just won your case. Why do you have to call
Well,
anything?
I know, but there's a little bit more than $106 involved here.
What?
It cost me $27 to file this in small claims court in Wichita, Kansas.
Oh, okay.
And there was more damage to it than just the wheel. The handlebar extensions were damaged, the pedals were damaged, the bicycle seat was torn up.
But I asked for the bill to fix
Yeah,
it.
you got the bill.
You
That's
got
correct.
the bill,
Yes, ma'am.
$106.40.
That's correct.
That's the bill that you gave me.
That's correct.
So?
Well, I guess that's the end of the story then.
That's the end of the story.
All right.
You just
Okay.
won. Sit.
Very good.
This is not a major toxic waste pollution case.
I understand.
A bent bicycle wheel. All right, let me get to the bottom line of your case, which I've read. Let me see if I understand it. Your daughter was playing over at their house. The plaintiff wanted to go someplace. And according to you, he said to the kids, why don't you just put the bikes in the backyard? The daughter put her bike in their backyard. The bike was stolen. And based on that, you believe it's his fault.
His responsibility.
No, that's wrong. How old is your daughter?
13.
So she had the capacity to say, I'm going to go put my bike in my garage?
Which she did. And he said, no, just put it in our backyard. We won't be gone very long. And both of the girls' bicycles got stolen.
You want to go further and tell me about this torn screen?
This is just
When did that
what I
happen?
get from the kids. This was last summer.
Did you tear the screen in Mr. Stevens' house?
No, ma'am.
You have a witness with regard to the torn screen?
Yes.
I'll hear you, Brian.
I was inside the house, and these two kids and my sister were inside, and I was trying to watch TV, and they were being loud, so they went outside. I locked the door, so they were locked out. I heard a noise at my window, and I opened the curtain, and Timothy was there with a stick poking a hole through it.
Did you poke a hole through the screen?
Uh-uh.
Did you replace the screen?
No, but I have an estimate to have it replaced.
You went through a whole summer with a screen with a hole in it from a stick?
Yes, ma'am.
Get a patch. I can understand why you're aggravated, but it's unfortunate that people who had a rather pleasant relationship have any tension because of this. That's your fault. They're all a lot younger than you are. So the first thing that happened was you locked your sister and her two friends out of the house because you wanted to watch television in peace. Is that what happened with the screen? Stupid. Then you got on a bike, jumped up and down on the bike, not your bike, and bent the wheel. Also, stupid. As a result of that, two families, which had, I assume, gotten along reasonably well together if you let your daughter go with the plaintiff before, have any kind of friction now. Very, very stupid. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $133. The counterclaim's dismissed.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Matter of Bowman versus Benningfield. Thank you. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Sir, have a seat, please.
You're Miss Bowman.
I'm Miss Bowman, her mother.
Okay, but you weren't there.
No, I was not there at the time.
Why don't you
Thank
have
you.
a seat? Miss Bowman, the defendant is your former boyfriend.
Right.
Who's going to take his hands out of his pockets as we speak. Very good. And according to your complaint, after you broke up with him, two things happened. You claimed that he trashed your car, causing substantial damage, and also in a scuffle over a knife, he caused you to cut yourself. And you want him to pay your medical bills. When did you break up with him, and where did this happen?
At his home on June 27th.
How long had you been going out with him?
Since February.
Did you tell him in person that you were breaking up with him?
Yes, ma'am.
At what time of the day or evening did you tell him?
7.
You broke up with him on the 27th.
Right.
At about 7 o'clock in the evening?
Right.
And then I assume you left.
Right.
Was there any discussion at that time?
No, his sister and I both left after I broke up with him.
What did you say to him, and what did he say to you?
We had gotten in an argument, and I was just like, it's over. I don't want to talk to you anymore. Let's just break up.
Did he say anything?
No, a normal breakup.
I don't remember.
Not like...
And then you left?
Right.
Did you subsequently come back to the house?
Yeah, later on that evening.
What time?
Yes. It was probably around 3 o'clock in the morning.
And who did you come back with?
His sister.
And what happened when you came back at 3 o'clock in the morning?
We went to sleep, and nothing happened. We woke...
Who went to sleep?
Sarah and I.
Where?
In Sarah's room.
Okay. So you went to sleep at 3 o'clock. What happened when you got up?
We woke up.
What time?
Maybe around 11. We were going to the hospital to visit his mom in the hospital, Sarah's mom also. Then we went to the hospital, came back around 4:30, and when I got back, I looked at my car and I noticed that it had been really bad kicked. And
Where had you parked your car?
In their driveway.
Now, when you left at 11 o'clock in the morning to go to visit his mother in the hospital with your friend Sarah,
right.
Did you see your car?
No, I had not paid any attention to it whatsoever.
When was the last time you had actually looked at your car?
And no damage had been done to it?
Yeah.
The day before, on the 27th.
What time?
8.
8 at night?
Right. When Sarah and I had left, there was nothing wrong with my car.
Do you have a photograph of your car after the damage? That was from a movie, right? I always loved that movie, right? What movie was that?
Got to think about that one.
Oh, I know what it was. I know. No. I know what it was. I know what it was. Runaway Bride. It was Runaway Bride.
I didn't see that one.
Oh, that's a ladies' movie. Did you see the movie?
No, ma'am.
But you know what I mean when I say look in my eyes.
Yeah.
Try yes.
Yes, ma'am.
So someone did a real number on your car.
Yes, ma'am.
And then you went into the house?
And called my mom, told her what had happened.
And that's why your mom is here, because the car is really your mom's.
Exactly.
Go ahead.
And called the police. She told me to call the police. He was telling me, don't call them, it's not that big of a deal. And I called the police.
Well, did you ask him what happened to the car?
I said, what happened? I don't know.
And he said, I don't
wasn't
know.
here. Right.
And then you said you were going to call the police?
Right.
And what did he say when you said you were going to call the police?
Don't call the police, it's not that big of a deal.
And what did you say to him?
I said, my mom says I have to. So I went ahead and called the police, made a report, and when I had called the police, the officer came to his house, and the officer came, I made a police report. He said, did he do it? The police officer asked me if he did it and thought I was protecting him, but I didn't have any idea. You know, I thought in my mind that he did do it, but there was no, I saw you do it. So that.
Right. So what happened next?
Well, after the police officer had came, he wanted to talk to me. I was really upset. I was crying. I was really upset. And I was like, no, 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 no. You know, Sarah and I were getting ready. We're going to get dressed, and then we were going to go out that night. And we were arguing. And I don't know how it all started, but he pushed me. Sarah got up. Sarah and him started fighting. And then I got in the fight because I didn't want Sarah or either one of them to get hurt. And we were all just started a big fight. And then he started grabbing knives and was like, I'm going to...
You're lying.
Go ahead.
He started grabbing knives saying he was going to kill himself first. He held it to his stomach. Then he said to his wrist and everything else. All the meanwhile, Sarah and his 9-year-old cousin are both there. And after that, he had grabbed a steak knife. And he was like, I'm going to kill myself. We were standing over by the refrigerator. Sarah and his cousin were in the living room by the phone getting ready to call the police. And when he went like this, I put my hand like this, and that's how I got stabbed.
So you were trying to
prevent
him from hurting himself?
Exactly.
Okay. Did your cut require stitches?
Yes.
How many?
2. But it is 2.5 centimeters deep. My palm is numb. Half my thumb is numb. I'm still going to hand specialists to see.
Ms. Bowman, I just have a couple of questions for you. You break up with this guy. He has a sister who's clearly a friend of yours. Don't you think it's a good idea that after you break up with him, you don't go back to his house and contemplate going out with his sister and hanging out with his sister so that he's aware of all these things?
Right, yes.
Yeah.
His sister was my best friend. We had been...
So what? So let his sister come to your house.
Right.
Do you understand what I'm saying to you?
Yes.
It's just not smart.
Right.
You know, it sort of says to him, trash to you.
Right.
You know, I'm going out with my friends. I'm going to go have a good time, and I don't care if you're heartbroken, and I don't care if you're miserable, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Just not smart.
Right.
Not thinking. You know, you didn't think.
Right.
Anything?
I tried to keep the relationship between us after the incident kind of steady, so...
You can't keep it steady. It was just 24 hours old.
I'm talking about after.
I'm talking about at the time of this incident. The breakup was 24 hours old, and you're gallivanting around town, hanging out and doing whatever you want to do with his sister and coming home 3 o'clock in the morning. I mean, I'm not being judgmental about that.
Right.
I'm just saying to you, don't do it in front of him.
Right.
Because it made him mad.
Right.
Right?
Right.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Jenna Bowman says ex-boyfriend John Benningfield Jr. kicked her car in a fit of jealous rage. Jenna also claims she was cut with a knife when John tried to kill himself.
Let us start with incident number 2. Let's hear your version of the knife incident.
Okay, well, see, yeah, we was arguing, you know, and...
What were you arguing about?
Yeah, I really can't remember. But we was arguing and stuff, and I was like, well, I'm just going to leave. You know, I'm just going to get out of here. And she was like, well, why don't you go kill yourself? Or why don't you go kill yourself? Or something like that in that area.
Me?
In that area. And I was like, well, do you want me to? Because I was just so mad, you know, so frustrated.
What were you mad about?
Just because we broke up, you know. And I did like her, you know, kind of a lot. We went out for, 6 months? And, you know, I mean, that's the pretty longest relationship I've ever been in. And
so you were really mad?
Yeah. And I was just like, okay. And I mean, I didn't have it up like this. I had it right here across my, you know, right here. And then my sister tried to stop me, and I was trying to protect the knife so she wouldn't get cut, you know. And then I don't know what happened. Next thing I know, she runs over here and she gets cut. And then as soon as I see she's cut, I threw the knife in the sink and then helped her, you know, tended to her. Like, I got to town, you know, and started, I told Sarah and them to call 911 because I didn't know, you know, how bad it was. And then, yeah, the police came and...
well, that was the second time the police had come.
Yeah, yeah.
Police came twice. The first time they came about the car.
Car, yes, ma'am. And they took me. They gave me. They was gonna take me to jail, but they
take you to jail for what?
For assault with a deadly weapon. Because I guess she was gonna press charges against me, but they ended up didn't, and then took me to rehab.
Well, she really assaulted herself with the deadly weapon that you were holding.
Yeah. Right. Right. That's why they took me to rehab, to the hospital, instead of taking me to jail.
Well, there's a difference between rehab and a hospital.
It's in the hospital. It's rehab in a hospital.
What kind of rehab?
It's
a...
I was trying to think. I don't know. It's just they got a bunch of for drugs and for people that are. I guess.
Well, for drugs.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
Who were you hanging out with that evening?
Josh Cato, my friend. See, the 27th, when her car was we supposedly did it, we was in Gap Hollow in, where is that? Elizabeth, Indiana. And we didn't leave there until like 4 o'clock in the morning. And when we left there, we went back to his house. And when we got up at his house about noon, I come back to the house and she was like, "What did you do to my car? Why did you do this to my car?" And I'm
well,
like,
at the time she left the evening before with your sister, you weren't in Gap Hollow. You weren't there. You were home because she said, "I'm leaving and I don't want to talk about it anymore." You were home.
Right. When they left, we pulled out of the driveway because he parked his truck in our second driveway, and she was parked with my sister and my cousin, and they was going to the hospital.
Who do you think kicked her car?
I have no idea, because his truck said 2 weeks before we moved into that house, somebody took a baseball bat and keyed his truck.
Why would you tell her not to call the police?
I don't remember saying not to call the police.
Yeah, you did. Why would you say don't call the police? It's no big deal.
I have no idea.
Mr. Benningfield, you have no idea?
Right.
I have an idea. Let me see the estimates on the car and let me see the medical bills.
These are the hospital bills. And this is the estimate for my car.
Don't you have insurance on this car, Miss Bowman?
If she hit someone, we only have,
Liability.
because I'm a single parent, I can't afford the.
That's a lot of kicking damage on that car, sir. Need really heavy boots to do a kicking job on a car like that. Ms. Bowman, what caused you to break up with the defendant?
Because he was controlling and he was mean, and every time I went out with his sister, I get yelled at when I came back.
How old are you?
16.
How old are you?
19.
Did he ever use any drugs in front of you?
Well, okay.
Answer the question. The answer is yes or no.
Yes.
What kind?
Xanaxes. Can I tell you something? He was taking Xanaxes the day that this
What
happened.
is Xanax?
Xanax is a...
Depressant drug.
Right. For...
People that get panic attacks.
Right.
How long have you been taking medication?
Like, just pretty much the time we was going out.
Is that by a doctor's prescription?
No, ma'am.
What?
Yeah.
You take that on your own?
Yeah.
Where do you get it from?
Just my friends, people I know.
These people that you know, I assume with medical licenses, know how much to prescribe for you?
They wasn't prescribed. She's making me look like the bad person. She took them herself. She's done everything that I did, she's done.
Mr. Benningfield, the problem is that you caused some damage.
I didn't do that.
Oh, yeah, you did. Oh, yeah, you did. There's no question in my mind that you did. And there's also no question in my mind, but for the fact that you had taken this knife and were using this knife in a way suggesting that you were going to harm yourself, she wouldn't have gotten stabbed. Now, whether that was a result of taking... Try to pay attention. You're 19 years old. Trust me, you don't know everything. You think you know everything. Maybe you think he knows everything. You think you know everything? But for the fact that you probably are operating only on partial cylinders because of this medication that you're taking, sir, you reacted to her breaking up with you in a way that was off balance. Now, am I saying to you that she did the right thing by going out with your sister and still having a relationship with you? The answer is no. I think she acted like an immature 16-year-old. And your chronological age is 18, right?
Right.
translated probably about 9. And that's what 9-year-olds do when they don't get what they want. They hit, they scratch, they mark up somebody's walls, they do a whole bunch of things.
She had the police involved. She went and she was going to press charges against me. And I had to go up to Sellersburg Police Department to give them a statement. They said they couldn't do nothing. She supposedly gave them all kind of witnesses that I supposedly admitted it to them. But them same witnesses, when the cop asked them, did he tell you this? They was like, no.
I don't care what they said, sir. I'm telling you, you trashed her car. You want to know how I know you trashed her car? Because I can see it. I can see what happened when she left and how angry you were. How angry you were even the next day, because you said that's why you grabbed the knife, because you were so angry, because you really liked her. And here she was telling you, I'm breaking up with you and I'm going to hang out at bars, friends, whatever, with your sister. And I'm leaving, bye, and she leaves you there all by yourself with your medication and your friend. Grow up. Listen, you both got to grow up. I give you some latitude because you're only 16. You're 19 and no genius, but you're going to pay for the damage. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount requested, which well exceeds damage to the car and your medical bills, $5,000. That's all.
Funds are excused. You may step out.
I think it was a great decision.
It's crap that she can see these things.
2 girls told me he kicked my car and that he had a new girlfriend, but I wasn't worried about the new girlfriend. It was just a coincidence.
We was trying to work everything out when all this was going on, and then I just got tired of waiting, and I started with this other girl that I know.
Finally now, she knows, we all know the truth.
And then she found that out, and then this one, all this, she started suing me just to try getting money, because she's for money.
Don't date psychos.
Yeah, this is case number 259 on the calendar in the matter of Allen versus Allen. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Mr. and Mrs. Allen, the defendants are your son and daughter-in-law, is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
And is your claim that they owe you jointly a substantial amount of money, both from loans and from a cell phone bill that they managed to creep up to the thousands. Mr. Allen, you were in jail. When?
The first time for 4 years, and then just this past November till this year.
You served 4 years in state's prison?
Yes, ma'am.
When was that?
From 97 until September of last year, 2000.
September of 2000. What were you convicted of, sir?
Arson, 451C.
What did you burn down?
Condemned apartment complex.
Then you were arrested again?
Mm-hmm.
For what?
A parole violation.
What was the nature of the violation?
A threat to harass another and leaving the county without a pass.
Who did you harass?
A former employer, supposedly.
It is the complaint of your parents that when you got out of jail, I believe the first time in the year 2000, you needed some money. And they helped you with a series of loans. How much did you give your son when he got out of jail the first time in 2000?
About $1,400.
How do you have that broken down?
$65 in uniforms, $60 for gas, and what he told me was birth control pills, $150 cash for expenses. He told me they needed money for food. We gave him $100. And then he switched jobs after he got arrested the second time, and he needed $60 for steel-toed shoes this time. We gave them $450 for rent while they were still living in their old apartment, $15 for DMV fees that he conveniently didn't have the day he had to go to the DMV, $85 for gas, usually, $20 here, $40 here, $200 for carpet for their rental, and $150 cash for miscellaneous expenses. And when we were on vacation in July, he called us and said he needed $80 to make his car payment. So we gave him that.
Miss Allen, did you have a conversation with your son with regard to paying you back this money?
Several times. It was always going to be paid back on payday, when they could get it or when he got paid from a separate job that he was doing. Each time the money just disappeared.
Well, but you kept giving him money, Miss Allen.
Well, because every time I asked him for money, he hinted that I was taking food out of my grandchildren's mouths.
So despite the fact that he didn't pay you back any of this money, week after week, month after month, he would ask you for more, $15, $100, $85, and you would continue to give it to him.
He did pay back some money. He did. He gave my husband $100 at the mall one day, $40 here, $20 here, a total of $435. So
Well,
just enough to keep me doling it out, I guess.
So what's the total of what you say he owes you now, without the phone bill?
$1,415.
And did you keep records of that money at the time that you actually gave him the money, or did you recap in your head at some later time?
I wrote it down in my, I have an address book. I just wrote it down, how much I gave him, but I didn't write dates or anything. I just wrote it down so I could keep track. So when I said, hey, you owe me this much money, I would at least know how much.
Okay. Now tell me about the telephone bill.
He had some problems, and he said that his wife would feel a lot better if she had a way to get a hold of him, which, knowing his track record, that was a good idea. She needed a way to get a hold of him. So he asked me if I would get a cell phone in my name. I already had one, and my husband and I both have cell phones, and he said he would pay the monthly bill on that.
And did he do that?
He paid one bill of $144 because the phone got disconnected, and I just wasn't going to pay it anymore.
How much is still owed on his bill?
It totals $2,008.05. And to date, on both the cell phone and the loan, he's only paid $435.
I hear you.
There's a lot to be told, Your Honor. We'll start with the loans, the miscellaneous loans. When I came home, my wife was working between 40 and 60 hours a week and making over $2,000 a month. We didn't borrow money from her when I first came home the first time. We had no need to borrow money from her. I had $200 gate money that, substantial amount of money for me to have to be home and find a job and get work. I remember her offering to pay for uniforms. I've never once, there's a lot of things in her list of loans that she said, as for example, for rent for the new house or carpet for the new house. We moved out less than a mile from her house to where she could be closer to the grandkids. It was kind of like a helping thing. I had to get away from the place where I was, so she helped us out. It was her friends we rented the house from.
Is what you're saying, Mr. Allen, that you didn't take this money from your mother?
No, I didn't call her and say, Mom, I need money, please. You're taking food out of my kid's mouth. I would never say that to her.
That's not what I asked you. What I asked you was, are you telling me that your mother is lying when she says that she gave you, over a period of time, $1,415 in small amounts for a variety of things? Shoes, uniforms, gas money, a month's rent, money for carpeting. Are you telling me that she's lying when she's telling me that?
I'm not saying she's lying about those things, but as for her to say that she loaned it to us and said, okay, you'll give it back to me, the agreement was, here you go. It wasn't, Mom, I need money, I'll give it back to you on Friday when I get paid. Mom,
well, how would she know that you needed money?
We would be talking. You see, my mom keeps everything
listen
close.
to me. How would she know that you needed money? How would she know, for instance, that you needed money for the DMV and that you didn't have it?
She was with me when we went to the DMV. She was with me. I went to go pull out money. My wife had the check. She said, oh, I'll take care of it. I was driving her around that day. Her car was in the shop. It was like gas money. This is how she works. She'll say, I'll take care of that, and then 5 days later when she's angry at you, she'll try to sue you for it.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Roberta and Donald Allen say their son, Daniel Allen, owes for loans they made after he got out of jail. The Allens say Daniel served 4 years on an arson conviction.
Let's go to the phone bill.
We could talk about the phone bill.
We could.
The phone bill.
I think that right now is the appropriate time.
Back in November, me and my wife tried to set up a cell phone, and they wanted because we had a bankruptcy, they wanted a $1,000 deposit.
So she wasn't doing so well in her job.
No, we had a bankruptcy 3 years previously. It was just something, our credit was messed up. It had nothing to do with us not having money, but they wanted a deposit, a high one. I was talking to my mom about a cell phone. My mom said, hey, I can get one on my account. It won't cost you guys anything. You just give me the 20 bucks for the phone, $40 a month for 500 local, whatever the minutes were. It was like 2,000 minutes a month. We said, yeah, sure, let's do that. That'll help out great. I was incarcerated 3 weeks after we had the phone. I went back for the second time for the threat to harass. My wife, who was handling everything by herself and didn't have an extra income now that I was gone again, she called my mom and said, hey, my mom would call and say, hey, the phone's due, and you can ask her. She said, hey, don't worry about it. I'll handle it until you guys get back on your feet, and that's exact words. I even called my mom from jail and said, hey, Mom, I don't know what you want to do with the phone. You want to take it back? It'll cost me more money to take the phone back.
Where do you get $2,008 in telephone calls?
We've never seen a bill.
Can I see the bill?
These are the front pages to the bills, and I've given him several bills, which he subsequently tore up because he didn't want his wife to see what phone calls were on him. I have the complete...
No, I want the bills with what calls were made. The last bill I have here indicates $802.15, which is the total balance.
That's a $150 shut-off fee, $360-some for the
No,
last
I'm just
bill.
saying, you say, listen to me, Miss Allen, you say he owes you $2,008 for the phone bill. The last bill that I have here is $802.15.
I've been paying the bill.
Are you telling me because you made some payments?
I made a lot of payments, yeah.
How many payments did you make on this phone bill?
We made three, one of $250 and one of $100, and then some minor ones in between that. But those were all without seeing anything but the first bill.
Who lives in Lancaster?
Several people.
Your friends?
Yeah,
Relatives?
I don't know how many different people.
What's Diamond Bar?
A place in Los Angeles?
Yeah.
I don't know what's down there. I don't know who exactly those numbers are.
How many children do you have?
2 and 1 on the way.
I gather from looking at these papers that your parents don't see your children anymore.
Yes, ma'am.
Why is that?
My mother has alienated most of our family. Other siblings don't speak with her, and then we go to my children. We went to Vegas one weekend. It's just numerous things. I guess my wife can explain it better than that. It was more both of our decision.
Okay, I'll hear you.
Basically, it's just that she doesn't recognize us as parents. We'll ask her not to do something, and it's constantly going over the line that's set.
Give me an example.
It started when they were planning their trip to Ohio, and she told Theo in front of my 3-year-old, they're 3 and 5, she told the 5-year-old, because that's her favorite, she's made that very clear, that he would be going on her trip with her to Ohio for like 3 weeks was the plan. This was before she ever talked to me or my husband. I came to pick them up because they had spent the night. I think my son said something like, I get to go on an airplane. And I was like, what? And they said, oh yeah, we think it's a good idea for him to come to Ohio with us for our vacation, and went on. Well, they had already said this to my kids. You don't discuss something with a 5-year-old before you make sure it's
You're
okay.
absolutely right.
And then from there, I mean, other things have happened.
Was that recently?
Yeah, she just went in.
June, beginning of July was their trip,
But I
and
mean-
it was before that it was discussed.
The situation directly before they left, I mean, she told them, you know, when the fare comes, I'm going to take him on, or no, I'm going to take him to a glider ride. And we told them, no, you're not going to a glider ride. We were sitting, you know, Theo came and said, I'm going on an airplane, a glider ride. And we were like, no, that's not going to happen.
Oh.
And that was
your mother,
after-
your wife, your wife explained it much better
Yeah.
than you did. Did you say that to your 5-year-old, that you were going to take him on a trip?
We were talking about going on our trip. He said he wanted to go. He wanted to know how we were getting there, what we were going to do, and he just was planning on going. And they told him no, it worked out. They called us every day while we were on vacation. Everything was just fine.
There was the blow up about, please don't say these things to him before you talk to me or Danny, and know what our